Yesterday, we received word from sources that NDP MLA Michael Connolly had a heated altercation with Wildrose MLA Derek Fildebrandt at the legislature. Although the young MLA hasn't admitted to raising his fists at Fildebrandt, we were told that witnesses saw it happen and that there was security footage that had already been viewed. In an article written by Michelle Bellefontaine at the CBC, one of the very few articles in the mainstream media that's come out about this young pink shirt-wearing, supposedly anti-bullying MLA allegedly raising fists to a colleague, Wildrose MLA Jason Nixon and Fildebrandt allude to the incident occurring. Fildebrandt says that no mention of the threat was made and only the tone and tenor of the heated discussion was mentioned in an apology made by Connolly. Nixon says that physical threats aren't appropriate, and in fact, Nixon, NDP MLA Estefania Cortez Vargas, and Speaker Bob Warner viewed the security tape together. So why the silence from the mainstream media then? Why are there only a couple of stories out on an alleged physical threat against a Conservative MLA? Well, I'll tell you why. Not a Tory, not a story. They'll go out of their way to hold normal Alberta citizens to account with dozens of stories for what they think is some sort of affront to democracy for chanting, "Lock her up," to blow off some steam at a rally. They'll do dozens of stories on a cardboard golf target of Rachel Notley's head like this is some sort of new concept that disliked political figures are the butt of jokes. There were dozens of stories about Rachel Notley receiving the most verbal threats as Premier. No mention of Ed Stelmach or Stephen Harper, though, of course. And there's always silence when real physical altercations happen, like when someone affiliated with the NDP shoved a constituent at an event last year. I was actually pretty generous with my time before I put this story out. I waited to see if the hacks that cover the legislature would put a story out on Connolly. But as predicted, this isn't news to the mainstream media, so much so that by the time this video was done, there were only a couple of articles out from the CBC and the Edmonton Journal. Jason Markusoff, who was clearly watching Question Period yesterday, tweeted about hockey jerseys. Yes, self-described vice president of the press gallery, Michelle Bellefontaine, did write the CBC article that I mentioned earlier. And after her apparent job well done on interviewing Connolly, went on to brag about asking tough questions. Oh, really, Michelle? I guess asking Connolly whether he raised his fists at a colleague was just too tough for you. I didn't see it in your article. I didn't see it in Emma Graney's article either. Nobody bothered to even question the NDP MLA's alleged raised fists. Imagine for a second if the roles were reversed here. Imagine if it was Derek Fildebrandt who was accused of raising his fists to one of the NDP's token pink shirt anti-bullying MLAs. The media would be losing their minds over it. And that's because it's not the people watching the news that care about this stuff. It's the people writing it. They actually think that regular people care about lock her up chants at a rally. Actually, judging by the silence and cover-ups for real threats, they probably support the NDP themselves. Remember during the election when Paula Simons at the Edmonton Journal tweeted out that she actually voted for the NDP and then featured a picture of a can of Orange Crush the day after the election? She even admitted to likening Rachel Notley to Judy Garland, who was once deemed America's treasure. But she's no party's cheerleader. Sure, Paula. If the tables were turned, they'd be filing copy like their hair was on fire and it was the last thing they had to do on earth, screeching for Fildebrandt's resignation. Remember how much outrage there was over Fildebrandt giving Rachel Notley the what for over thinking it was a good idea for Alberta to follow in the footsteps of Ontario's failing green energy plan while Kathleen was in the legislature?
Mr. Speaker, today Alberta welcomed Ontario's Liberal Premier Kathleen Wynne to the Legislative Assembly. While I'm sure their talk session was valuable, we aren't sure what benefit Albertans can get from Ontario's emissions plan. For power consumers, it's meant skyrocketing power bills, massive subsidies to unprofitable initiatives, and Auditor General's reports into billions of wasted tax dollars. A few months ago, our Premier praised the Ontario plan. Is the Premier still endorsing this plan? And if so, what part does she think will benefit Albertans?
They called for his resignation, apologies, and actions on an MLA for doing his job. Apparently, questioning policy is rude now, so they trotted out all of their favorite politicians or anyone with name recognition that demanded apologies, made apologies on his behalf, and shamed him for stating the truth. But these other journalists just aren't honest. They're part of the media complex already campaigning for the NDP for the next election. They're partisan hacks and social justice warriors. And if you don't believe me, they literally took seconds to find out all of the details on the owner of a cardboard cutout of Rachel Notley on a golf course just to fit their agenda. And oh, by the way, I did have enough sense to ask Michael Connolly if he raised his fists at Derek Fildebrandt. He actually didn't answer me, but maybe he'll answer his friends in the mainstream media if they even bother to ask him. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the link to sign up for our new Rebel Canada YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of our latest Canadian content.